my salvation.
A talking fish.
Huber,
Yo.
a game that I've been looking forward to quite a bit this year.
So hyped.
South of Midnight.
Yeah, dude.
From Compulsion Games.
Looks like a special one, Blood.
This like swampy Southern Gothic crazy story. And I've gotten to play about an hour and a half or so.
Nice.
It was chapter 3.
Chill.
So
And they said it was 10 to 12 hours, so
Yeah,
an
yeah.
hour and a half in this is a nice little chunk.
We're still very early. We're still like tutorializing. We're still getting like, this is how you double jump. This is where you glide. This is stuff like that. So
probably like the first instance where you have some like freedom.
a little bit.
game,
Yeah, a little
yeah.
bit. But that's one of the things where like I'm wondering like, because of how early this is, like how much like more funneled this level might be than potentially later levels.
Yeah.
The number one thing about this game is the vibe.
Yeah.
The vibes on this game are really, really great. Like just the look of everything and the sound of everything. It's like you hear like owls and stuff and crickets and bullfrogs and you've got like little critters that will scurry around like muskrats and rabbits and stuff just in the environment.
Is there music playing just like constantly or?
I'll get into that.
Okay,
I'll
cool.
get into that. The way that the music kind of comes in is very specific, as you might expect from the composer. But yeah, so this point, like a lot of the stuff that we saw, like the prologue-y stuff with her mom and stuff, like that's past, and she's going through the swamp looking for her mom. She's already gotten the weaving tools by the time I start playing, but she doesn't seem to know a lot about any of this stuff yet.
Yeah.
She's just sort of picked this stuff up and is
Learning on the fly.
Learning on the fly, yeah. So actually, like one of the first things that you even get into in this chapter, like, is combat area. And from what I can tell so far, combat and platforming are like very separated. So like you go into like a sphere, like a bubble of like, this is a combat zone.
Devil May Cry, red demon gate slam, Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And there's a lot of different terminologies that kind of play in here. So like there's like stigmas, which I think might be the things that you're unraveling there, and then like tangles and all of this stuff, because like the whole idea behind the haints and the vines and the thorns and everything is that like the world is made up of strands.
Yeah.
And that Hazel, as a weaver, is able
It's a strand game.
to see the strands, yes. And the enemies and stuff are tangles, like that where like some kind of pain or trauma has happened.
Yeah.
And so the
Love
strands
that
have gotten
context.
tangled. So when you defeat an enemy, like you unravel them. Like you untie the knot that was there, essentially.
Do you see like some spirit like float away or?
It's interesting because like, there's sort of like a burst that comes out and you get like a little bit of health back when you fully defeat an enemy.
Little parting gift, like, thank you for untangling me. So wait, just to be clear, you'll be platforming around, and then it'll be like, okay, now it's time for an encounter.
Yeah,
There's
like
no,
you
like-
go into a
Yeah,
space
got
where
it,
the enemies come out, and
Just
now
to be
you're
clear.
like locked into that little bubble of area. Cool. Definitely. One thing I should say too about this preview build, there were two things that were kind of keeping me a little bit at a distance, like very just preview build specific kind of stuff, like because this game's not finished yet.
Of course.
There was not VSync enabled,
So
like you're getting like the screen tearing and stuff, and like when you're moving the camera around, it feels like like a little bit off. And then the other thing is there was no invert option for the camera.
Oh, your nightmare.
It's there, but I can flip it on.
No.
So like I'm not awful with that, but it's just like one of those things where it's like when you're like
Uncomfortable.
moving around in combat in particular, it's a little tricky, to like, it's like, oh, I got to turn and I got to aim. Like, and it's like with enough time, like I get more comfortable. Like by the time I got to the end of the demo, I was more comfortable. But when it's only an hour and a half, then it's like right as I'm getting comfortable, it's like, okay, now we're done.
If I had to play with invert, I would feel that I'd be like,
Exactly. So these are things that like kind of like took me a little time to adjust.
Yeah.
But the combat. She's got some light attacks. She doesn't have like a guard. You just have like a dodge to dash away. What's interesting though is that if you time your dodge against certain attacks, it almost acts like a parry. So if like a guy's about to come in on you, you can like later on I was picking up that you could hear like a sound effect.
Yeah.
And so if you do it like right about when that sound effect is happening, when she dodges, there'll be like a burst that kind of blows the guys back a little bit.
Got it. Does it like stun them, or are they like dazed for
It's a little bit of a knockback kind of thing.
Cool. Give you a little space.
Yeah, and then with her weaving ability, so like you've got the the hooks where you're attacking, so you can like basically just mash X to get like a combo out, or you can hold X to like charge, and like you'll see like this kind of path on the ground, and then that'll like push out a bigger attack. But it's really hard to like get in those charge attacks because the arenas that I've done so far, there's usually like quite a few enemies. So it's like a lot of times it's about sort of managing and like, okay, like stun this guy for a little bit and then go attack the other guy rather than like attacking the guy that's stunned, because if you attack the guy that's stunned, other guy's gonna hit you in the back.
Yeah.
Thing, right?
Order of operations.
Yeah. So figuring
always
that
get the
out.
archers, always get the mage healers, like take them out, kill the ads. Yeah.
The other thing that you could do is you could kind of like grab. There's like these little wasp guys and like little wasp nests, and you could like grab the little wasp guys and then fling them at the bigger guys.
The year of the wasp. Of course, yes.
And then you unlock other abilities as you traverse and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So like,
can you air dash in combat?
I think so.
Okay, cool.
I think so. Sure. I don't know that you can actually air dash until you get the double jump. But like some of the things I unlocked was like I did like a ground pound kind of thing, which will hit a couple of guys. And then the one that it felt really good was you can do like a fishing line kind of thing. So you like throw a line out to a guy and then like scorpion like pull him in.
Get over
and
here!
Smash him. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And then you do have like when you
fresh meat.
When you use your weave ability against an enemy, then that's like what puts them in stun. You can see like they'll like turn like with a white glow.
Yeah.
And then there's some other enemies they introduced in some encounters later on that were like these big guys that would kind of like shoot out these projectiles. Mm-hmm. And I kind of misread the tutorial pop-up at first because I was like trying to like knock back like the fast projectiles, but like those you can't knock back. Those you just have to like avoid.
Yeah.
But then there's like these slower big ones, and then if you push back on those,
that's fun.
Then they'll go back and hit the guy.
So does fighting, it's early, obviously, that'll escalate in intensity as the game goes on, but is it frantic or deliberate? Like, what's the overall flow and pace of it?
It's a pretty quick pace. Like, I think the thing is, like, you have to be nimble and you have to be on the move. Like, I did, like, die a couple of times in this demo.
Nice.
Because your health can get taken down pretty quickly.
Cool.
But the animation when you respawn is freaking cool, dude. It's like she's like a little puppet marionette that like spins down and like
Sick.
And so far, I think every combat arena I've been in had like one like little like freebie like heal thing. There's like these green healing.
Got it.
Floofs. I don't know
exactly
what you call it. So you could grab that and get like a big chunk of healing.
Got it.
Or like I said, when you defeat an enemy, you'll get like a little bit of healing back.
Yeah.
And then just over time, like I saw like it will refill, but I don't know if it like will refill all the way or if just to a certain amount.
Yeah.
So that stuff like
Yeah.
Like
that sounds sweet.
Yeah, it feels all right. Mm-hmm. And then like I said, when you finish, then you kind of like unravel the thing at the center that's creating the bubble where the enemies come out of.
Yeah.
And then after that first thing, then you start getting into the swamp and using basically all the same abilities and buttons there, but they just have different effects in traversal versus in combat, right? So like when you do your push, then sometimes there will be like obstacles that you kind of blast out of the way, or there'll be like these little like sheet metal things on the ground where you'll get like a little bit of resources when you push them out of the way. And then similarly, your weave, what you'll see is sometimes there'll be like these kind of like ghostly, like it looks like an object, but it's not really solid. Mm-hmm. And then if you weave, then it will temporarily become a solid thing that you can platform on.
Oh, okay.
So it's like you weave and then you jump on it and then you jump off.
Fun rhythm.
Yeah. And then the level was fairly linear, like pretty beginning to end kind of level, but you want to keep an eye out for like little side paths.
Little pockets.
Yeah, so like a little place where you like climb up a tree over here, or a little, jump over these thorns, and there'll be a thing there. And what those have, these are literally called floofs.
Floofs.
These are like little white ghost things
Floofer.
that that serve as your upgrade currency.
Nice.
And so that's where I was saying like you could get the different upgrades for each of your different trees essentially.
After you finish a combat encounter, do you get some of that stuff too, or any XP type currency at all, or is it just kill the enemies?
I'm not
move on?
100% sure if you do it. It really felt like
you just take them
the
out.
floofs were the thing
So you
that was
gotta
upgrading
find-
me more than getting anything out of combat.
Cool.
Plus, combat seems to have like a very specific limited number of enemies per
Yeah.
encounter. So like
Yeah,
it's not like
yeah.
you could go back and farm because that's
Yeah.
gone. You untangled it.
Sweet. So that puts a little more emphasis on exploration.
Yeah.
And really, like, they start feeding into each other. That's
Yeah.
fun.
And one thing that's nice is like when she's like learning these abilities, you're following like this group of ghosts that seems to be on the run from something. And so you see the ghost double jump, and then she like learns like, oh, I can double jump. And you see the ghost glide, and then it's like,
Nice,
oh, okay,
nice.
I can glide.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, and I already kind of spoiled this in Slack. I was listening pretty closely to the sound effects, and all of her weaving abilities, so they're kind of ghostly looking anyways. They have like a female vocals, like a group of women,
Yeah.
like as the sound effect. Some of them sound more subtle, but it's like But then like when I do that charge, it's another big charge
they
attack.
all-
It was like a giggle. It's like
That's
like
creepy.
kind of eerie stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so you get a little ways in, and then you meet Catfish, which is
Immediate
great.
icon.
Yeah, great character. Like really great performances on these characters too. But he seems to know all about it. And Hazel, as soon as she sees him, is like, talking catfish? No, I'm out. Like,
I'm going
well, but he seems to know all about weaving and all this stuff. And the thing is, he's stuck in a tree. This giant tree looks like a person. And there's giant peaches all over the place too, which I think is a very deliberate nod. But the tree is like holding him. And so he can't get out. He's just stuck up in this tree. And he's like, I need you to help me get out of this tree, and then I can help you find your mama.
Yeah.
And she's like, how do you know about my mama? And he's like, it's like, again, like, why does Catfish know all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, just use one of your magic bottles. And she's like, I don't have a magic bottle. But
Then you gotta go find a magic
again,
bottle.
so she's learning, and Catfish can help teach her about all this weaving stuff that she just kind of picked this stuff up, and it's like, so you can see the strands, right? It's like, yeah, I can see them, so he kind of explains some things to you. And so then you go up a little further, and because there's a place with a bottle tree, and there's this whole mythology around bottle trees and stuff like that. And there's this like crazy hillbilly guy there who's like confronting you. He's like, I think you're a boo hag. Only boo hags can like fly around and stuff like that. And she's like, I'm not a boo hag. It's like, well, get up on this porch and then prove you're not a boo. So very interesting character.
Yeah.
And what you essentially learn is that like, that they use the bottles to like trap haints and trap the pain and stuff like that. And so you get a bottle, and from there, right after you get that bottle, that's when this music starts kicking in.
Yeah.
And so this is where it's very interesting, because you hear like actual song, like actual lyrics singing, kind of starting to like reflect things that are happening in the story. And you don't know like the full context yet.
Yeah.
But then what you need to do to get the catfish out of the tree is you need to like untangle all of these points that are around this area, because they're all tied back to the tree. And every time you go through one of those combat encounters and unravel one of those things, then you see like a little bit of a memory. And you're seeing these memories of these two brothers.
Bonds.
And the one brother is like, I think he's like a little bit like developmentally slow or whatever like that. And so like a lot of people pick on him.
Yeah.
There's just like one that was like crazy where like somebody had set a bear trap and he had got like stuck in this bear trap and his brother had to get him out.
Oh my God.
But as it goes on, you start to see that like the other brother started to feel like burdened by him and started to resent him.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna spoil where it goes from there, but like the last bit of this memory is like, oh, that is messed up. That is messed up, dude. But as you get towards the end, there's sort of like, I would say like an Ori moment. To when you're getting the last thing that you need for the pattern, there's like, you're in this like kind of ghost world and there's like something chasing you, but you can't quite see what, but you just know you need to run. And so you're going through this chase sequence. And at this point you've learned to like wall run and stuff as well. So you're like jumping back and forth along walls. The one thing is I felt like it was weird because I didn't fully feel like there was like that much risk there.
Yeah.
Like it just felt like a little bit like too easy and too long. And it's like, okay, we're going through this chase sequence, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not like Ori where it's like really, really challenging, you know, and I got to try over and over again to get it. You know, it's just like, okay, I just kind of did that.
Yeah.
So hopefully they get like a little bit better, you know, as it goes on.
Because those are always so fun when you have to use all your platforming tools to like escape some, you know, lava coming at you or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when you get through that chase sequence, that's when you get the pattern, which is kind of like the full thing that you need. And then you go to climb the tree. And that's this whole other platforming sequences. It's really crazy because then you get this full song where you have like this male vocalist and he's talking about the whole story of the brothers and like recapping the thing as you're climbing around. And then like you get to a certain point up in the tree and like then this whole like backing choir comes in and fills it in, and then like the
art,
and then you're like talking to the tree and having him move his arms so that you can climb up higher.
This is cinema.
And then you kind of like there's this big wound like essentially on his head or whatever, and then you like it's like picking a scab. It's like you break open the wound and then you use the pattern to heal the wound and everything that it happened.
We love healing things in video games.
And then he lets Catfish go, and you go off with Catfish into the sunset to learn more and find your mama.
Yeah.
So
sounds sick.
Yeah.
That's a good variety of like, you know, combat, exploration, platforming. The chase scene is like sounds pretty chill, but at least it kind of like breaks up the flow a little bit. You know, it's a little more immediate platforming rather than like exploration platforming. Yeah. So like I think the gameplay is good and serviceable. It's not like amazing or anything. Like like just the level, like I said, the level design's a little bit more straightforward. Maybe that will get more branching when you're not just learning how to do basic abilities and stuff. But again, like the vibes and the music and the environments and the character designs, like that stuff is really like top tier. Yeah. Top tier.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. Can't wait.
So we will see. And yeah, I think that's out in April. So just like a couple months to go.
Coming up quick. One of my most anticipated, Blood.
Yeah.
And after this preview, it's still right there.
Yep. So thank you for watching. We're Easy Allies. We got a lot of previews going up right now. So come over to youtube.com/Easy Allies to check out all of that. Check out our weekly podcast. And if you enjoy all of this and all of our coverage, please go to patreon.com/Easy Allies to keep it happening. Thank you.
Benji's name, he saw things different. He was my shade, and I said goodbye. I said farewell. I took my hammer, my tight to hell. It was my brother.